The Enigma of Capital and the Crises of Capitalism by David Harvey is an in-depth exploration of how capital functions and why crises are inherent to the capitalist economies. Harvey, a distinguished Marxist scholar, provides a thorough analysis that makes Marxist theory accessible to those new to the field. The book, published in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, aims to explain how and why such crises occur regularly within capitalism and what this reveals about the system's nature. Harvey begins by redefining capital, not merely as money or assets, but as a dynamic process, a continuous cycle of investment, production, and realization through sales, and reinvestment aimed at generating profit. This cycle is driven by what Marx calls self-expanding value, where capitalists start with a sum of money, invest it in commodities or production, and aim to end up with more money than they started with. Harvey's interpretation aligns with Marx's critique of political economy, emphasizing that capital is fundamentally about the process of accumulating more capital, which necessitates constant growth and expansion. One of the key insights Harvey provides is the idea that capital is not just a temporal phenomenon, but also a spatial one. Capital does not exist in a vacuum. It flows across different geographic locations, seeking new opportunities for investment wherever profits can be maximized. This leads to uneven geographical development, where some regions experience rapid economic growth, while others suffer from stagnation or decline. Harvey argues that this spatial expansion is essential for understanding both the dynamics of global capitalism and the crises that periodically disrupt it. Harvey argues that capitalism is inherently expansionary. It must continually grow to survive. Capitalists are driven to find new markets, exploit new resources, and tap into new labor forces because the process of capital accumulation requires continual expansion. This relentless drive for growth creates several contradictions and tensions. For example, while capitalists seek to reduce costs, including labor costs, to maximize profits, they simultaneously rely on consumers having enough purchasing power to buy the goods that they are producing. This creates a fundamental contradiction. Reducing wages to cut costs can undermine the consumer base needed to sustain demand, leading to crises of overproduction, where too many goods are produced and there aren't enough buyers with sufficient income to purchase them. In the book, Harvey explains the realization problem is that if wages are reduced too far, then who is going to buy all the commodities? This question goes to the heart of one of capitalism's central contradictions, its simultaneous need to exploit labor to maximize profit while maintaining a consumer base that can purchase the commodities produced. This contradiction is not only an occasional glitch, but a recurring feature of the capitalist system, one that inevitably leads to economic crises. Harvey introduces the concept of the spatial fix to explain how capital moves geographically to resolve its crises. When capital cannot find profitable investment opportunities in one area due to overaccumulation, it moves to another region. This geographical expansion is a crucial way for capital to temporarily escape the contradictions of overaccumulation and declining profit rates. However, this movement creates its own set of problems, leading to uneven development, where some regions become sites of intense economic activity while others face stagnation or decline. He writes, "Capital is, by its very nature, a moving thing that cannot abide by a limit." Harvey emphasizes that this geographical mobility of capital is essential for understanding how capitalism reshapes the world. Capital seeks out new spaces where it can achieve higher returns, often resulting in urbanization, infrastructure development, and other forms of spatial reorganization. Yet, this process of constant movement and restructuring also produces instability and crisis. For example, when capital moves out of an area, it can leave behind economic devastation, unemployment, and social dislocation. Harvey argues that crises are not anomalies or failures of capitalism, but are integral to how the system functions. Crises serve as mechanisms for resetting the conditions of capital accumulation by devaluing overaccumulated capital, clearing out unproductive assets, and allowing new investment opportunities to emerge. In other words, crises clear out the decks for a new round of capital accumulation. He explains, crises are the irrational rationalizers of an irrational system. This statement encapsulates Harvey's view that crises are both predictable outcomes of capitalism's internal contradictions and necessary moments of adjustment that help restore the conditions for further accumulation. For Harvey, the history of capitalism is a history of repeated crises, each of which reshapes and transforms the system while perpetuating its fundamental dynamics of exploitation and accumulation. Harvey also explores the different types of crises, such as financial crises, production crises, and the crises of overaccumulation. He illustrates how these crises interact and feed into each other, creating a cycle of boom and bust that is central to capitalist development. For example, a financial crisis might trigger a production crisis, leading to unemployment and reduced consumer demand, which in turn exacerbates financial instability. Harvey then discusses the role of the state and financial institutions in managing crises and maintaining the conditions for capital accumulation. He argues that the state is not a neutral arbiter, but an active participant in the capitalist system, often stepping in to protect the interest of capital during crises. This involvement can take many forms, from bailouts of failing banks to austerity measures that shift the burden of crisis management from the elites onto the working class. Quote, "The state, in its guise as a collective capitalist, acts to create the conditions for capital accumulation." End quote. This quote from Harvey highlights the state's dual role in both managing and perpetuating capitalist crises. While the state intervenes to stabilize the system, it also helps preserve the structures that generate crisis in the first place. Harvey also critiques the role of financial institutions, such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, in imposing neoliberal policies that exacerbate inequality and social instability. These institutions often prescribe austerity measures and structural adjustment programs as the solutions to economic crises, but Harvey argues that such policies only deepen the contradictions of capitalism by undermining social welfare and increasing poverty and inequality. In the concluding chapters, Harvey reflects on the future of capitalism and the potential for systemic change. He argues that while capitalism has proven remarkably resilient in the face of repeated crises, there are limits to its ability to adapt and survive. The recurring crises, growing inequalities, and ecological degradation associated with capitalism suggest that it is increasingly unsustainable. Harvey calls for a radical rethinking of our economic and social systems, advocating for alternatives that prioritize social welfare, environmental sustainability, and economic democracy. He emphasizes the need for collective action and grassroots movement to challenge the power of capital and build a more just and equitable world. The task, Harvey writes, is to change the world in such a way as to make the perpetuation of these crises, with all their attendant human suffering, an impossibility. This call to action underscores the urgency of addressing the root causes of capitalist crises and the necessity of envisioning and working towards a fundamentally different system. The Enigma of Capital is a comprehensive and accessible exploration of the dynamics of capital and the crises inherent in capitalist economies. Harvey's analysis provides valuable insights for anyone seeking to understand the complexities of capitalism and the challenges of building a more just and sustainable future. By grounding his critique in Marxist theory, Harvey offers both a diagnosis of the problems and a vision for transformative change. This has been the Left Library, and this has been Political Theory Simplified. If you have enjoyed this overview, we do encourage you to read The Enigma of Capital to better understand the mechanics of capital and its impact on societies worldwide. Thank you for watching. Let's continue to learn and to grow together.